Blackbeard turned his ship around. So did Charles Vane. Even Henry Morgan, the most brutal pirate captain in the Caribbean, knew better than to engage. When a man of war appeared on the horizon, the age of piracy's most feared names ran. Not because they lacked courage, not because they lacked firepower, but because fighting a man of war wasn't a battle. It was a death sentence. These floating fortresses carried enough cannons to sink an entire pirate fleet, enough marines to slaughter every soul on board, and enough speed to chase you down no matter where you ran. For over 200 years, the man of war ruled the seas with absolute dominance. And today, you're going to discover exactly why even the most legendary pirates feared these ships more than death itself. The year is 1650. The Caribbean is a lawless nightmare. Spanish treasure fleets haul millions in gold across open water. Merchant ships loaded with sugar, tobacco, and rum crawl between islands with minimal protection. And pirates, they're everywhere. Port Royal, Jamaica, has become the richest and most wicked city in the New World. Blackbeard terrorizes the coast of the Carolinas. Bartholomew Roberts captures over 400 ships in 3 years. Charles Vane burns vessels just for sport. The ocean belongs to outlaws, and European powers are bleeding money trying to stop them. Traditional warships exist, but they're slow, outdated, and built for European naval battles, not Caribbean guerrilla warfare. Pirates sail fast sloops and nimble brigantines that can outrun anything the Royal Navy throws at them. They know every hidden cove, every shallow reef, every smuggler's route. The few naval ships that do patrol these waters are undermanned, poorly supplied, and commanded by officers who've never faced a real pirate in their lives. It's a joke. Pirates mock the Navy openly. They drink in port towns while wanted posters with their faces hang on the walls. They bribe colonial governors. They capture naval officers and hold them for ransom. The system is broken, and everyone knows it. But in the shipyards of England, France, and Spain, something is being born. A new class of warship, purpose-built, heavily armed, designed for one mission: total domination. They call it the ship of the line. But pirates have another name for it: the man of war. And when these monsters hit the water, the Golden Age of Piracy begins its countdown to extinction. The birth of the floating fortress. The first true men of war aren't accidents. They're engineered responses to a problem that's costing European empires their fortunes. In 1692, a massive earthquake destroys Port Royal, sinking 2/3 of the pirate haven into the sea. It's seen as divine punishment, but it's also an opportunity. The British Admiralty realizes something crucial. Pirates win because they're faster and more maneuverable. So, what if you built a ship that was fast, maneuverable, and carried enough firepower to level a small town? The HMS Sovereign of the Seas launches in 1637, 100 guns across 3 decks. It's a statement, but it's not enough. The real breakthrough comes in the 1670s, when shipwrights figure out how to combine speed with artillery. They stretch the hull, reinforce the gun decks, add a 3rd row of cannon ports. The result is a vessel that can sail at 9 knots, fully loaded, and unleash broadside volleys that sound like thunder rolling across the ocean. Here's what makes a man of war different from everything else on the water. A typical pirate sloop carries 12 guns, maybe 16 if it's a captured merchant vessel upgraded for combat. A man of war carries between 60 and 100 guns. And these aren't small swivel guns. These are 24-pounders, 32-pounders, even 42-pound cannons that can punch through 2 feet of oak at 500 yards. A single broadside from a first-rate man of war fires over 1,000 pounds of iron. That's the weight of a small car flying through the air at the speed of sound, shredding wood, sails, and human bodies into pulp. The crew size tells the whole story. A pirate crew averages 75 men. A man of war carries between 500 and 850 sailors and marines. That's not just a numbers advantage, it's a coordinated military machine. Gun crews train for years to reload and fire in under 90 seconds. Marines practice boarding maneuvers until they can storm a deck with ruthless efficiency. Every sailor knows his role. Every officer commands with absolute authority. There's no drinking on duty, no arguing about shares of plunder, no debates about which target to hit next. It's a disciplined, professional fighting force designed to crush anything that challenges it. But the real genius isn't the firepower, it's the design. Men of war sit low in the water with reinforced hulls that can absorb hits that would sink smaller ships. The gun decks are positioned to maximize stability, meaning they can fire full broadsides in rough seas without capsizing. The masts are rigged with enough sail to outrun merchant ships, but not so much that they sacrifice maneuverability. And here's the detail that terrifies pirates the most. These ships can chase you upwind. Most pirate vessels are downwind runners. They need the wind at their backs to hit top speed. Men of war can tack into the wind, cutting off escape routes, boxing you in, forcing you into a fight you cannot win. The British Royal Navy takes this concept and perfects it. By 1700, they're launching one new man of war every 3 months. The HMS Victory, HMS Britannia, HMS Royal George, these aren't just ships. They're symbols of imperial power. When a man of war sails into a colonial port, governors stand at attention, merchants cheer, and pirates, they vanish into the jungle and don't come out until the warship is gone. When pirates met their match. The first time pirates encounter a fully armed man of war, it doesn't go well. The year is 1718. Blackbeard, Edward Teach, is at the height of his power. He's captured dozens of ships, blockaded the port of Charleston, and terrified the American colonies into paying him ransoms just to make him leave. His flagship, the Queen Anne's Revenge, is a modified French slave ship with 40 guns. By pirate standards, it's a floating fortress. He's never lost a fight. Then he meets HMS Pearl, a fourth-rate man of war with 42 guns and a crew of 250 Royal Navy sailors. The engagement happens off the coast of North Carolina. Blackbeard sees the Pearl approaching and makes a choice. He runs, not because he's a coward, Edward Teach fears no man, but because he knows his ship. The Queen Anne's Revenge is armed, but it's still a converted slaver with a pirate crew. Half his men are drunk, the other half have never faced a trained naval gun crew. He watches the Pearl through his spyglass and sees disciplined sailors moving in perfect coordination, gun ports opening in unison, officers barking orders with military precision. He knows what happens next if he stays. So he turns his ship and runs into the shallows where the Pearl can't follow. Word spreads. Blackbeard, the most feared pirate in the Americas, ran from a Royal Navy warship. But here's the thing, every pirate who hears that story doesn't mock him. They nod, because they understand. Fighting a man of war isn't brave, it's suicide. Charles Vane learns this the hard way. In 1718, he's defending Nassau, the pirate republic in the Bahamas, when the British send a fleet to retake the island. Leading that fleet is HMS Milford, a fifth-rate man of war. Vane has multiple ships, over 300 men, and the advantage of defending home waters. He tries to fight. The Milford unleashes one broadside, and Vane's lead ship disintegrates. Just one volley, 24 cannons firing in sync. The ship splits in half and sinks in under 3 minutes. Vane watches 70 men drown. He orders a retreat, sets fire to a captured merchant ship, and sends it drifting toward the British fleet as a distraction. Then he runs. Nassau falls without another shot fired. Bartholomew Roberts, Black Bart, the most successful pirate in history with over 400 captured ships, has a simple rule: avoid men of war at all costs. He's fast, smart, and ruthless. But even he knows the math doesn't work. In 1722, he's off the coast of West Africa when HMS Swallow, a fourth-rate man of war, ambushes him. Roberts tries to escape, but the Swallow is faster. The British captain, Challoner Ogle, is a veteran naval officer who studied pirate tactics. He doesn't chase Roberts head-on. He cuts off the wind, forces Roberts into a position where he can't maneuver, then opens fire. The battle lasts 3 hours. Roberts takes grape shot to the throat and dies on his own deck. His crew surrenders immediately. 52 pirates are hanged. The rest are sold into slavery. This is the pattern. Every major pirate who tries to fight a man of war either dies or runs. There are no victories, no clever tactics, no underdog triumphs. The power imbalance is too extreme. It's like bringing a knife to a tank battle. You don't win, you just die faster or slower, depending on how smart you are. The anatomy of destruction. Let's break down exactly what happens when a man of war engages a pirate ship, because understanding the mechanics makes the fear make sense. A first-rate man of war like HMS Victory carries 100 guns across 3 decks. The lower gun deck holds 30 32-pounders. The middle deck holds 28 24-pounders. The upper deck holds 30 12-pounders, plus 12 smaller guns on the quarterdeck and forecastle. That's firepower equivalent to an entire artillery regiment. The range advantage is massive. A 32-pounder can hit a target accurately at 1,200 yards. A pirate 6-pounder is effective at maybe 400 yards. This means a man of war can start shredding your ship while you're still out of range to fire back. And here's the cruel part. They don't aim for your hull first. They aim for your rigging. A dismasting shot takes out your mast, your sails, your ability to move. Now you're a sitting target, drifting helplessly while the warship circles you like a shark, firing at will. The second phase is the hull barrage. Once you're immobilized, the man of war closes to 300 yards and fires chain shot and bar shot. These are specialized projectiles designed to rip through wood. Chain shot is 2 cannonballs connected by a chain that spins through the air, shearing off masts and rigging. Bar shot is a solid iron bar that tumbles end over end, smashing through hull planks and tearing open massive holes below the waterline. A single hit can flood your lower decks. 3 hits and you're sinking. The third phase is grape shot. This is anti-personnel ammunition, a canvas bag filled with dozens of small iron balls that spray across your deck like a shotgun blast. It's designed to kill crew members, not damage the ship. A single grape shot volley from a man of war can kill or wound 20 men. 2 volleys and your deck is a slaughterhouse. Pirates who survive grape shot attacks describe it as hell. Men screaming, blood everywhere, bodies torn apart, nowhere to hide. If you're still afloat and still fighting, the man of war closes to 50 yards and prepares to board. Here's where the Marines come in. A first-rate man of war carries a detachment of over 100 Royal Marines, professional soldiers trained in close-quarters combat. They're armed with muskets, pistols, cutlasses and bayonets. They wear uniforms, fight in formation, and follow orders without hesitation against a pirate crew that's been decimated by cannon fire, exhausted from trying to keep the ship afloat, and demoralized by watching their friends die. It's not even a fight. It's an execution. The entire engagement from first contact to surrender averages 90 minutes. A pirate ship that took months to capture and outfit is reduced to floating wreckage in an hour and a half. The survivors are put in chains. The wounded are left to die or thrown overboard. The ship is either sunk or towed to port as a prize. There's no mercy, no negotiation, no ransom. The Royal Navy doesn't take pirates prisoner to trade them later. They take prisoners to hang them. The hunters become the hunted. The British Admiralty doesn't just build men of war and hope they stumble into pirates. They create specialized anti-piracy squadrons with one mission: hunt down and destroy every pirate vessel in the Caribbean. These aren't patrol ships waiting for trouble. They're hunter-killer groups that actively track pirate movements, gather intelligence from informants, and strike without warning. Captain Challoner Ogle becomes the Navy's most successful pirate hunter. He commands HMS Swallow, a 4th-rate man of war built specifically for speed and firepower. Ogle doesn't wait in port for reports. He sails to known pirate havens, questions locals, bribes informants, and maps out pirate trade routes. When he finds Bartholomew Roberts in 1722, it's not luck, it's calculated tracking. He knew where Roberts would be because he studied Roberts's patterns for months. Woodes Rogers, a former privateer turned pirate hunter, takes a different approach. He's appointed governor of the Bahamas in 1718 with orders to eliminate piracy by any means necessary. Rogers arrives with 3 men of war and offers every pirate in Nassau the king's pardon. Surrender, swear loyalty to the crown, and you walk free. Refuse, and the warships will level the island. Hundreds of pirates take the deal. The ones who don't, like Charles Vane, are hunted down systematically. Rogers doesn't just fight pirates. He dismantles their infrastructure. He shuts down the fences who buy stolen goods. He arrests the corrupt merchants who supply pirate crews. He fortifies Nassau with artillery and deploys the men of war on constant patrol routes that cut off escape routes. Within 2 years, Nassau goes from the pirate capital of the world to a legitimate British colony. The transformation is complete. Captain Vincent Pearce commands HMS Phoenix, hunting pirates off the African coast. He develops a tactic called the close blockade. He parks his man of war outside a known pirate anchorage and waits. Pirates need to resupply eventually. When they try to leave, Pearce is there. No escape, no surprise attack, just a warship waiting with loaded guns. The psychological impact is devastating. Pirates trapped in port watch the Phoenix through their spyglasses, knowing that leaving means death. Some surrender immediately, others starve, a few try to run and get blown out of the water. The Spanish use men of war differently. They don't hunt pirates. They escort treasure fleets with overwhelming force. A typical Spanish convoy in the 1720s includes 3 or 4 treasure galleons surrounded by 5 or 6 men of war. The formation is designed so that any pirate attempting an attack gets caught in a crossfire. No pirate captain is stupid enough to try. The convoys sail from Havana to Seville without incident, year after year. The pirates who used to prey on Spanish gold shipments find other targets or quit piracy altogether. The end of the Golden Age. By 1730, the Golden Age of Piracy is effectively over, not because pirates lose the will to fight, but because the risk-reward equation no longer makes sense. In 1715, a pirate could capture a merchant ship with a crew of 20 using a sloop with 40 men. The merchant would surrender without a fight. The cargo was worth 10 times what the pirates earned in a year. The colonial governors looked the other way if you paid them a cut. It was profitable and relatively safe. By 1730, that same merchant ship travels with a Royal Navy escort. That escort is a man of war with 60 guns and 300 sailors. Attacking means certain death. Even if you win, which you won't, the Royal Navy will send 3 more warships to hunt you down. The colonial governors, who used to take bribes, are now appointed by the Crown with orders to hang pirates on sight. The fences who bought stolen goods are in prison. The safe harbours are occupied by British forces. And the King's pardon is off the table. If you're caught, you hang. The numbers tell the story. In 1718, there are an estimated 2,000 active pirates in the Caribbean. By 1726, that number drops to fewer than 200. By 1730, organised piracy as a profession is extinct. The survivors either take the pardon, disappear into legitimate merchant work, or die. There are no more pirate republics, no more fleets, no more legends being born. The last great pirate, Edward Lowe, operates until 1724. He's known for being exceptionally cruel, even by pirate standards. He tortures prisoners, burns ships with crews still aboard, and cuts off the ears and noses of captives. He's so violent that his own crew eventually mutinies and maroons him on a deserted island. But before that happens, he encounters HMS Greyhound, a small man of war with 20 guns. Lowe has 2 ships and 80 men. He tries to fight. The Greyhound sinks one of his ships in 15 minutes and cripples the other. Lowe escapes in a longboat with a handful of survivors. He's never heard from again. Most historians believe he died of disease or starvation on some forgotten island. That's how the Golden Age ends, not with a dramatic final battle, not with a heroic last stand, but with pirates realizing that the ocean is no longer theirs. The men of war have taken it back. The legacy of the man of war. The man of war doesn't just kill pirates. It redefines naval warfare for the next 150 years. The tactics developed hunting Caribbean outlaws become the foundation of European naval doctrine. The ship designs pioneered to combat fast pirate sloops evolve into the ships of the line that dominate the Napoleonic Wars. The command structures, the training methods, the gunnery techniques, all of it traces back to the anti-piracy campaigns of the early 1700s. But here's the ironic part. The very thing that makes men of war unbeatable against pirates makes them obsolete against each other. When two men of war fight, the engagement turns into a brutal slugging match that can last for hours. The Battle of the Saints in 1782 sees British and French men of war pounding each other for 9 hours straight. Ships are dismasted, set on fire, and still keep fighting. Thousands of sailors die. The ocean is full of wreckage and bodies, and at the end of it all, neither side gains a decisive advantage. The age of sail warfare becomes a contest of endurance, not skill. The final evolution comes in the 1850s, when steam power and ironclad armor render wooden men of war obsolete overnight. The HMS Warrior, launched in 1860, is the first iron-hulled warship. It can steam at 14 knots regardless of wind direction. Its armor can deflect cannonballs that would shred a wooden hull. The age of the man of war is over, but the legacy remains. Every modern warship, from destroyers to aircraft carriers, descends from the same principle: overwhelming firepower, disciplined crew, purpose-built design. Today, only one man of war still exists. HMS Victory, launched in 1765, survives as a museum ship in Portsmouth, England. You can walk its decks, see the gun ports, stand where Admiral Nelson stood during the Battle of Trafalgar. It's massive, even tied to a dock stripped of sails. It's intimidating. Imagine seeing it under full sail, bearing down on you with 100 guns run out and ready to fire. Imagine being a pirate in a 30-foot sloop, watching that ship close the distance, knowing there's no escape. The pirates who survived the man-of-war era left almost no written records. Most couldn't read or write. The ones who could didn't want to document their crimes. But the few accounts that exist share a common theme: fear, not respect, not admiration. Fear. A pirate named William Fly, captured in 1726, was asked during his trial why he surrendered without a fight when HMS Greyhound found him. His answer: "Because I wanted to die on land, not at the bottom of the ocean." That's the truth of the man of war. It didn't just defeat pirates, it broke their will to fight. It turned the ocean from an outlaw frontier into a policed waterway. It ended an era that had defined the Caribbean for over a century, and it did it with cold, methodical efficiency. Blackbeard died in 1718, but not fighting a man of war. He was cornered by 2 Royal Navy sloops in a shallow inlet where a warship couldn't follow. He fought to the death, took 5 musket balls and 20 cutlass wounds before falling. He went out like a legend, but even in death, the shadow of the man of war looms. He ran from HMS Pearl. He avoided HMS Lyme. He knew better than to face the one ship he couldn't beat. Charles Vane was captured in 1720 after being marooned by his own crew for refusing to attack a French man of war. He was hanged in Port Royal, the same city he once terrorized. His body was left swinging in a gibbet at the harbour entrance, as a warning to other pirates. The message was clear: the age of piracy is over. Bartholomew Roberts, the greatest pirate who ever lived in terms of ships captured, died at the hands of HMS Swallow. His crew threw his body overboard, weighted with chains so the Navy couldn't display it as a trophy. Even in death, he denied them the satisfaction. But he still died fighting a man of war, and that tells you everything you need to know about the power imbalance. The man of war didn't just sink pirate ships, it sank the entire culture of piracy. The songs, the stories, the legends, all of it ended when the Royal Navy decided piracy was no longer acceptable and deployed the firepower to make that decision stick. Today, when we romanticize pirates in movies and books, we forget this part. We forget that for every Jack Sparrow escaping impossible odds, there were 100 real pirates who saw a man of war on the horizon and knew their lives were over. The ocean remembers, though. At the bottom of the Caribbean, scattered across 1,000 miles of seafloor, lie the wrecks of pirate ships destroyed by men of war, shattered hulls, rusted cannons, human bones, the graves of men who thought they could own the sea until the sea sent something they couldn't outrun, outfight, or outsmart. The man of war, the ship that ended piracy, the only ship every pirate feared, and for good reason.